Okay, guys, so I got a new promo link code, and I truly, from the bottom of my heart, feel like it is one of the best starts to raid that I have ever seen, even better than the start on my current free-to-play challenge. Hello everybody, I'm Roadblock and this is a Raid Shadow Legends video, and I am very excited to share my new link code with you guys because I think it is probably one of the best starts ever. Now, I used a different link code for this free-to-play, and the only reason that I'm not starting over is because I'm quite invested, right? We've had some really good luck with certain gear and other things that I don't know that I really want to just turn around and start over. However, if you have not had such good luck, or you haven't started your new account, if you want to start a new account, whether you're doing a free to play or you're just trying to play Raid for the first time, as I've seen many of you say in my Discord and the comments, if you're still kind of behind and maybe you didn't have good shard luck and maybe you've been off to a rough start and wish you could do it all over again, I think this is the link code to do it. I really, truly believe that. That is just the pure truth of it, okay? So let's talk about the champions that are in my link code. So it's very similar to the one that I used for this account. So in my link code now, you get Elenaril, you get Fayne, Uugo, and Tagoar, right? So you get 4 just great champions, and I think they all pair very, very well together as well. So I want to kind of go over the value that they bring. And then I'm also going to take a look at promo codes you can use when you're starting a new account and where to find those promo codes if you just don't want to take my word for it. Also, if you're watching this video in the future, those promo codes might change. So you want to make sure that you check this website first, and we'll talk about that. First things first, Elenaril as the starter legendary champion. I truly think she's a really, really good champion to get first. Now, I know she has her haters, you know, her reviews. There are certain areas where people say, okay, not so great. But one thing that is awesome is that I don't really feel like you even need to book her because she doesn't get any percentages on her abilities, right? So this doesn't say a 75% chance to land poison that books up. This says, hey, this places poison every time unless it's resisted or a weak hit, right? Activating poisons. Most people are gonna start with Kale, but if we also look at Fayne, who's in the promo link as well, Fayne also brings poisons. So being able to activate those poisons means that you get to do the damage that poisons usually do without the clan boss taking a turn. That's just flat out going to help you. One of the frustrating things for me about clan boss is some of the best ways to do damage early game to him requires him to take a turn. And that's really frustrating because you may not have the resources to have a very tanky team. Being able to activate those poisons outside of clan boss's turn means you're doing more damage relative to him taking turns, which is just good overall, right? So I'm a fan of Elenaril quite a bit. I think that her kit is pretty reasonable for a new account. I really do believe that. And like I said, you do not have to book her. If you want these cooldowns to go down, absolutely you can. I don't think it's a super bad mistake to do so. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. And furthermore, she has an unresistible HP burn when ascended only to 3 stars. So that means no accuracy required for the A1. But you still need accuracy for the A2. So that's the only thing I don't think makes a lot of sense is like, why is this unresistible? Like, if the rest of the kit still needs accuracy, but you know, or you could just say screw the poisons and get the poisons from other champions and turn this ability off, maybe. I don't know. Let me know in the comments how you guys use Elenaril. I would love to hear about that. Okay, so then we can move on, and I've already touched on them a little bit, but we've got Fayne next. And Fayne, I think, is a great champion for any new account to start with because you get a 2x hitter with a chance to steal turn meter. So this is good in against any boss that you can do turn meter. For example, this could be a good, you know, not the best, right? This isn't a lure, but this is a good opportunity for a chance to steal turn meter from Fire Knight. It's a double hitter, so at the very least, you're breaking through the shield. I will admit it's only 5% of the turn meter, so I don't think this is going to be breaking the bank, but it's better than having nothing, okay? But I just want to be clear about that. On the A2, which books down to a 3-turn cooldown, you get poison and decrease attack, which books up to 100%. So currently, in my current promo link, you get Rector Drath brings decrease attack. However, it's only, let's see, 50% chance, right? So 35 up to 40, yeah. So 50% chance. So you have a 50-50 chance on a single hitter that you're going to land your decrease attack. But with Fayne, you get a 100% chance when booked to not only land poisons, but also land decrease attack for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. You get a little bit of debuff extension in there, maybe from another champion. That's going to help you out to keep that decrease attack up, or you just keep her faster and, you know, be able to keep that decrease attack up that way as well. Then you have decreased defense and weaken again on a triple hitter, which is, you know, multi-hits are good for early Fire Knight as well. But to be able to get 100% chance when booked of decreased defense and weaken, so good early game. Yes, it's single target, but that's pretty good because most of the bosses that you're fighting that are important in the early game are single target, dragon and clan boss, right? So I just think Fayne is a really, really powerful epic. That's a great start in this game. Let's look at the reviews too. Yeah, you can see there's, I mean, Arena, not so much, right? But you're going to get a lot of value there for sure. We have Uugo next. Uugo is the queen. If you guys have been watching my channel for any sort of time, you know how much I love Uugo. Uugo is used well into the late game. Ignore the fact that this failed. It's a 99% run, guys. But I want to show you that Uugo is even in my Hydra Nightmare team on my main account. That is not my Nightmare team. That's my Brutal team. This is my Nightmare team. I still use Uugo in that team, right? So Uugo is a champion that is going to be with your account from the start using my link code to the end, and is just a powerhouse of a champion. So we get a leech on the A1, very, very useful. The chance goes up for each enemy alive. Obviously, that's not too impactful for like clan boss, but for other areas of the game, this is more consistent. Then we have decreased defense and block buffs, with the block buffs chance being increased by 5% for each alive enemy, right? So in Hydra, that block buffs goes up to 100%. With, I think you need Sniper is the mastery to finish that off. So let me look at that mastery real quick. Yeah, increases the chances of placing any debuff from skills or artifacts by 5%. So you do need Sniper on Uugo, I think. If we look at the math here, 50% chance, 60, 75. It books up to 75% chance, and then it's 5% for each head. So on Hydra, there's 4 heads, so that's another 20%. So now you're at 95%. Sniper gives you that final 5%. For the A3, you have a mini cleanse, and I think that this gets slept on quite a bit. When I did the free-to-play challenge, I actually used this mini cleanse to get through a lot of content, like the Nether Spider, for example, which is the poisons are so hard to deal with, but to get this miniature cleanse, it's only a 1 debuff rather, but it's still good. And there's a unique way to think about this last part. So if all allies are dead, revives them with 50% HP, then fills their turn meters by 50%. Here's the thing. If Uugo, now this only works if all allies are dead, but if you're doing 2-man comps to finish out the campaign, for example, if Uugo is the only other champion and built really tough and tanky, your damage dealer, which might be your Kale, in my case, for this account, it's Gaelic, is probably going to die, and Uugo just keeps reviving them. It's actually really handy to have, right? You can think of this as a single target revive if your team is 2. And there are other niche times where you can steal a win. I stole quite a few wins in Arena on the free-to-play challenge because my whole team got wiped, but Uugo lived and she just revived them all, and I was able to get the finish, right? Uugo is quite valuable with that revive as well and cleanse, and I think a lot of people tend to forget about that, but also the heal, because the heal on here, which I didn't mention, heals all allies by 20% of this champion's max HP. You can build her pretty tanky, high HP, and she's going to heal quite a bit, and she can actually serve as a pretty middle level kind of healer to get you through some harder content in the early game. Lastly, if everyone does die, she gives herself increased speed and block damage when everyone else on the team has died, which allows you to potentially get another turn to ensure that you can revive the whole team with this revive. So Uugo's just great. A lot of people say legendary in disguise. I agree with that. We can look at the reviews. You can see pretty much everywhere except, some of the harder difficulty areas where she might not make a lot of sense, right? So love Uugo, huge fan of Uugo. Lastly, let's talk about Tagoar. Now, I will admit that if you use this code now, when you can still get Artor, Tagoar's value is a little bit lower, but still really, really good for a lot of content. So on the A1, it's a double hitter, places increased defense on a single ally that has the lowest HP, giving a little bit more tankiness to somebody that might die. Not a bad A1. I like that it's a double hitter. Comes in handy for things like Fire Knight. With the A2, it's an AoE hit, and it places the big version of increased speed on all allies for 2 turns and heals them by 15% of this champion's max HP. Again, this is another high HP champion, which means you're going to get a reasonable heal out of this. It's not going to heal your champions to full if they're at half health, but it will be able to keep them topped off or get a little bit of more health to squeeze out that victory over a certain boss in the Doom Tower, for example, right? I did that quite a bit with Tagoar in some of my other accounts. Then we have a full team revive on an epic. It is on a 5-turn cooldown, but that also places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns equal to 20% of this champion's max HP. That revive does come in handy quite often. Yeah, I do like the revive. I'm just plain and simple, right? You get a full team revive without the caveat of Uugo where, oh, you can only use it if everyone's dead. If 2 people, 1 person died, you can revive them. You're going to give a shield to everybody. Yeah, I mean, it's a revive, right? The passive is also going to come in quite handy in areas like Clan Boss in particular. Decreases the damage received by allies with 50% HP or less by 10%. Passive damage reduction is huge. It's one of the things that I love about like Duchess and Pythion, for example. Now, those are obviously champions that are far and away better than Tagoar, but any passive damage reduction could potentially give you an extra turn, maybe 2 extra turns against something like Clan Boss, especially when Clan Boss has transitioned into the different phase of the fight. So if you don't know, when it comes to Clan Boss, when they transition from Void Affinity into Spirit, Magic, or Force, they get a double hitter. One of their abilities gets replaced with a double hitter. So to be able to reduce the damage of that second hit could potentially keep some people alive. So I love Tagoar. I love using Tagoar in Clan Boss. If my start wasn't so good with Supreme Galek, I think I might value Tagoar and Artor. I might value Tagoar a little bit more. And who knows, I might test out Artor and say, yeah, Tagoar's better, man. We're going to use Tagoar. The other thing, as we transition now into the promo code part of the video, if you're able to still use the Supreme Galek promo code, Tagoar is going to pair up because they are both of the Orc faction, meaning that your Supreme Galek can keep getting revived by a very tanky Tagoar, and you can clear faction wars, which is huge resources for your account. Let's move on to promo codes. So when you start a new account, every new account gets to use 1 promo code. Now, this is the list on Hell Hades' website of all active promo codes at the time of recording. One thing to be careful of is that these do change. One of my favorite promo codes to start with, which would be completely different today, but one of my old favorite promo codes to start with was Superpowers. You get Deacon Armstrong and some other resources, but I love Deacon Armstrong. I would argue that with that Superpowers promo code, probably better than a couple of the legendaries even in this list. Now, I don't want to go down this list too much, but I am going to point out the ones that I think have a unique place depending on your play style and your approach to the game. What is more important to you? Right away, the promo code that I used in the recent free-to-play challenge, Free Frog, which gets you Taragi the Frog. Now we can bring up Taragi real quick here. Taragi is a Shadowkin, which is pretty handy. And I say that because you will eventually get Mikage. So having somebody to pair with her is pretty useful. HP-based champion, an ally protect champion that books down to a 3-turn cooldown and puts reflect damage on themselves and puts poison on the boss with their passive here. So every time they get hit, they have a 50-50 chance of placing poison on the attacker. Again, really good for clan boss who does multiple AoE hits, so you're going to get a lot of procs out of this. You also get decreased attack on the A1. Now, we've talked about how important that is. So with my promo code, maybe not so good because you have Fayne, but if you want an ally protector early, Taragi is a good option, and I wanted to highlight that. You also get this provoke. On the free-to-play challenge, this provoke came in quite handy for certain Doom Tower bosses like the Magma Dragon, but also for Hydra, and I wanted to give that a shout out. It's not the best provoke in the game. It's not one that you're going to take into a late Hydra progression. However, it is a provoke. It is all enemies, and it has a reasonable chance if you're landing other debuffs before you use it. I am a fan. I'm a big fan of Taragi. I did go with Taragi. I actually picked Taragi over legendaries. I picked Taragi over Sun Wukong, who I believe the promo code is no longer available here. Yeah, I don't see the promo code for Sun Wukong anymore. Allure. So Allure is known for one thing. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I will highlight the good ones. She's one of the good ones. So Allure is somebody that can basically solve Fire Knight for you. So for Fire Knight, she has a triple hitter A1, and it decreases turn meter by 25% on each critical hit. You build her with a 100% crit rate, assuming she's positive affinity. She will chunk down Fire Knight's turn meter, and because it's a triple hitter, and you just turn off all her other abilities, she's just constantly breaking down the shield if it pops up. Great champion for Fire Knight, but she is a little bit, there are other areas of the game that she's very valuable. For example, Dark Fae in the future, but she is a little bit of a one-trick pony. You can see a lot of the reviews in other areas of the game are not as favorable as they are in the Keeps, Faction Wars, and Fire Knight. So keep that in mind if you're considering her. Would I pick her with this link code that I've got? I would not. Oboro's okay, but I wouldn't go with Oboro, Cormac, Luria. I don't think it's worth it to go Apothecary. That's a rare champion. You will get an Apothecary, but we're also getting Tagoar. Doesn't bring the turn meter, but brings the increased speed. So does Apothecary need to be on your team? Probably a little bit less so, right? Knight Errant, no. Chonoru, not so much. Oh, I looked right at it. Monkey King, Sun Wukong is still supposedly active. So let's talk about this one. This is the first legendary one that we're coming to here. Skinwalker's faction, Sun Wukong, freaking amazing. Still used in early end game right now. You know, for a lot of players, I use him on my free-to-play quite a bit. I use him even on my main account for some areas of the game. A1 has a chance to stun on a single hitter. The A2 is just a massive nuke with the chance that if you don't kill the target, you will sheep the target. So this can come in really handy against things like Ultimate Death Knight. For the A3, another AoE hit. This hits reasonably well, but it steals all buffs, meaning that you have a 50-50 chance to steal Stone Skin, for example, and puts block buffs on the target. Eventually, even when you start to do Hydra, this can prove to be useful in Hydra to prevent buffs being shared on Hydra. So, you know, there's still value even into the mid and the late game with Sun Wukong. Huge fan of that. But the best part of the kit is that you can build him incredibly squishy and have very little fear with that role, because revives this champion with 100% HP and 100% turn meter 3 turns after they were killed. So if he dies, he just comes right back to life, and you can continue to do that as long as they don't have a block revive. So for early game arena, you build a really tanky champion that they can't take down, like an Uugo or a Tagoar. Maybe you pull somebody better. I like pairing him with UDK even. He comes back to life and he just does more damage, right? The other thing too, speed in arena battles by 28% is faster than most other auras that you're going to have access to in the early game. As you can see, my best speed aura is all battles by 10%. So if I'm looking for a boost in arena, he's going to help me, and he is himself a nuker, so you're going to take him in your arena teams. That is a great choice if you're looking for promo codes to start with. I'm a huge fan of Sun Wukong and the Monkey King promo code. I don't think you can go wrong. Loki the Deceiver is a promo code with Get Loki. I'm not going to review the kit. I am not a big Loki fan. I think Loki as a login legendary was a fine option. He's given me a lot of trouble in the free-to-play challenge going against him in arena. I'm not saying that he's bad, but I wouldn't waste a promo code on him when you have better options for longevity like Sun Wukong or some of the other ones on the list. So is he better than ones that I've already talked about? It depends on what you're looking to do. I personally wouldn't pick Loki over Taragi or Allure, but it's something to consider. Luthea, Husgirl. So Mordecai is another reasonable option. I love Mordecai. I think Mordecai is very good for early game progression, especially Spider, especially for damage even in Hydra, and can actually be pretty useful in other areas of the game, like even Arena. I think he gets slept on a little bit in Arena, and I say that because he has a turn meter reduction by 15% and a turn meter fill for the allies by 15%, as well as bringing burns. And there is a 30% of decreasing turn meter by 10% on the A1, which goes up to 60%, and that goes up to 65, 70, 75% if they're under an HP burn. So it's not the best, right? But it's okay. It's extra. But this turn meter reduction and boost actually can be really useful in Arena, and this HP burn also gives increased attack. So you kind of get a sleeper turn meter booster, increase attack, as well as getting a turn meter decrease. Mordecai, in some ways, can be kind of like a baby arbiter for you if you get him early. Would I put a promo code in for him? I don't know about that, but just given that there's a better burner that we're going to talk about at the bottom here. Rector Drath, I think, is a fine choice. I've already gone over Rector Drath a little bit today, so we're not going to double down on that. But I do think Rector Drath is an okay one, but I wouldn't put a promo code for Rector Drath. If you're a low spender, you can get Rector Drath for, like, I think $15 from the Apprentice Pass. Yeah, $15, right? I don't think that's a good value for your dollar, but hey, it's something that you can do. But Rector Drath is good, so that's up to you to consider. Mausoleum Mage is okay. I wouldn't use a promo code. Thylesia, same thing. Myceliac Priest Ornn is a really good consideration, especially with something like Ellenaarl, because you're getting a bunch of poison activators and poison sensitivity with Mycelium Priest Ornn, but that's really the bulk of the kit. They can solo content, which is handy, but for me personally, not the one that I would really go for. Kitus, I'm not interested in. Urticata, no. Fenshi is okay, but because you have Allure, I would pick Allure over Fenshi. Melga Steel Girdle is a good reviver, good shield champion. Wouldn't put a promo code for them, though. Jingle Hunter, no. Stag Knight is a really, really interesting option, actually. Stag Knight can prove to be very, very useful into the mid and the late game, because Stag Knight has some pretty unique stuff in the kit. 30% that books up to 45, 50% chance of placing decreased speed on a 2x hitting A1. This is greater than Sill's A1, who is a legendary that you will get for free. Brings decreased defense and that decreased attack. Not quite as good as Fayne. It doesn't cover all of the bases, but you do get that decreased defense and that decreased attack, which could be good in Arena if you think the enemy team's going to get a turn, of course, and still also really good for Clan Boss. That books up to 100%. But this is also what I love. Gives increased accuracy on any ally each time they have a resisted debuff by the enemy. So that's actually really, really good. We talked about how I talked about often how hard accuracy is to get in the early game, especially without the event dungeon right now. So that's something to consider. I would kind of say that it's a possibility depending on what you're looking to do with your account. Sigmund the High Shield, I'm not going to talk about their kit, but Nub went with Sigmund in the free-to-play challenge and blew my mind with how good Sigmund was. However, I would say that because there is just such a better champion right here, Supreme Galek, that I just don't see Sigmund being the choice over Supreme Galek. Now, we talked about this a bunch on the channel, so I'm not going to go too deep onto it, but Supreme Galek is a void affinity champion and is a very powerful one at that. So we talked about the usefulness of HP burn for Mordecai. We get that with Supreme Galek. You have a chance at decreased speed. We've talked about the usefulness of block buffs on Sun Wukong, right? We get that on this champion. Get an extra turn if they get feared, true feared, frozen, provoked, sleep stun, or petrified. Really, really good in a lot of early content, but can actually be good in early arena as well. You get a 4 times hitter where you self buff with increased attack. Oh, and by the way, forgot to mention that every single ability has an additional 10% chance of inflicting a critical hit, meaning you only have to build him to 90% crit rate. Lastly, the A1 is a 2 times hitter and it has a chance to extend HP burns. I think this is the best promo code to start with. That is why I used that promo code for my new account that I just started. But I wanted to emphasize that I cannot imagine they will leave this promo code out for long. It's too freaking good, guys. If you're looking to make a new account, I highly recommend that you do it now, because if you do it now, you still have 3 days to get our tour. And as far as I can tell, because it's still on the website, the promo code for Supreme Galek, which is Supreme6, is still available. I am going to call that a video. We're getting very long in the video, so I'm going to end it very quickly. I just want to say thank you guys for watching. I hope this helps anybody looking to make a new account in the near future. Thanks for your support. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Take care.